Pharmacist Ben,
That'll be me.
how are you?
What's going on, man?
Yeah, nothing much. How was your weekend?
It was, I don't really look at it that way. They're all the same.
You work every
Weekend,
day?
weekday. I work every day. I play every day. I don't work
Interesting.
all the time, but I do work every day. And
You-
I
you-
don't even know what does the word work mean? I don't have a job really. So what do you mean by work?
That's great. Well, when you run
It's,
your own life, I guess it's not work, huh?
yeah, I don't think of it as work. If I had a job, it'd be work. But I mean, what do you consider work? Do you work every day? I mean,
Uh, I do activities that are revenue generated every day. So,
yeah, that's good. If that's work, then yes, indeed, I do that. That is true.
you,
But
you
I
know,
don't like the word work has this connotation. It has this like negative connotation. You're a workaholic and you work all the time. My girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, partially because she used to say I work all the time. And I
uh-huh.
don't think I just want to be productive.
Hmm.
Don't you? Want to
Absolutely. I want to
produce.
be productive and helpful and
Yeah.
profitable and all that other good stuff.
All that. Doesn't mean you don't have fun.
Yeah.
I'm fun.
Well, no, I enjoy uh,
Yeah.
hanging with people and working with people.
That's
And
the best is when you can combine what you consider enjoyable and fun with making money and being productive, which is a perfect segue for what we do.
it is a perfect segue for what we do, but even more so, a perfect segue for a debut
Yeah.
of another variation of your favorite song.
Oh no. Heavy
Which
metal though.
not heavy metal this
You
time.
said heavy metal. You told me
I
heavy metal.
promised heavy metal,
Yeah.
but this is not heavy metal,
Jam band.
and I have no idea
Uh
because I
oh.
haven't listened to it yet. I have
Okay.
no
As long
idea.
as it's not that god awful country thing.
Okay, let's see.
Got a rotten apple hanging
Now
on the
more
family
country.
tree.
Oh.
I put soulful. I look. This
That's kind of no.
that's. I was
You
expecting
think you're a
like
cowboy? Actually, I like country. I shouldn't knock on
I was
country.
expecting Barry White.
Oh, you want soul? Why don't
Yes.
you? That's down. That'd be interesting. Motown, Motown, root not the fruit. Did you
Well,
like Did you ever hear the Philadelphia sound?
oh yeah,
You have?
uh, oh yeah.
Name one band.
MSOP,
MS? No.
MF,
MS. Yeah, the sound of Philadelphia. TSOP. The
TSOP.
sound of Philadelphia.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, but do you know what I'm talking about? The Philadelphia
yeah,
sound. Who name a
yeah.
band? Name a band.
TSOP was the
No,
one.
aside from TSOP.
I can't. Give me one.
The Spinners.
Oh really? Okay.
The
Okay.
Spinners. I love the Philadelphia sound. Spinners. Bell Records. Remember, I was a
Okay.
DJ back then.
No, I didn't
You
know
didn't
you
know
were
that?
hip like that.
I was a 1970s DJ. Top
That
40.
that
I never
that.
told you that?
Well, I didn't register. That explains the microphone and the Wolfgang Jack voice that you.
I have a Wolfgang, no, Wolfman Jack. Not
Wolfman
Wolf.
Jack.
I have a Wolfman Jack voice.
No, I'm just
No,
throwing
I
it out.
don't.
Just throwing it out there.
Wolfman Jack, when I was a kid, he was like the big DJ. And I always thought he was so old. He was like in his 30s
Oh
back
wow.
then. Yeah, I always thought he was really old. Did you ever see the movie American Graffiti?
I'm familiar with it. I haven't seen it.
You should see it. It's a really, really cool movie about the late 50s, early 60s kind of thing. That was a
Hmm.
big thing. When I was in the 70s, the 50s were really big.
To
Anybody out
watch it.
there, anybody that grew up in the 70s, remember the 50s got really big, got really popular? There was a movie called Let the Good Times Roll and had like Little Richard and Elvis and Bo Diddley. You know who Bo Diddley was?
I'm familiar with Bo Diddley. Yeah.
Yeah, Bo Diddley and all these 1950s artists. In the early 1970s, 73, 74, the 1950s were real big. Anybody on the call today?
Touch of Soul.
Come on like
Yeah, of
that?
course.
Oh yeah, the Stylistics. I forgot about them.
Stylistic, Delphonics.
I told you about the Delphonics. My friend Ron Ellison was the lead singer for the Delphonics.
Yeah, you
I
did. You
lost
did.
I lost touch with him.
You did mention. We
Yeah.
have more people on Rumble. Rumble is one of our. That's our mainstay because we can say what we want.
On
Pretty
Rumble.
pretty much on Rumble. Yeah.
How many people are on the calls here?
Okay, so we have about let's see. We got between the two YouTube channels so far is about 14, and on Rumble we got 21.
All right, let's go.
On Twitter, I have to check. I am on Ben Bites Becca, yes. On Twitter we have some folks, and on Facebook, I guess I should have pressed the on button. So now we're gonna get that on button. So Fats.
So we're on. Wait a minute, we're on Facebook too.
We're on Facebook, and
what is the Facebook page?
Critical Health N and Daily with Doc, and there's we're on 4 pages on.
Oh, that's really cool. And then should I be checking for questions on Critical Health on the Facebook page?
Well, that's my job. And,
that's your job.
And we have our friend Becca brings in questions, and Keely's on with us, so we're gonna handle that.
What happened to those two beautiful twins, or not twins but sisters, who are the vegetarian and the fibroids? And
I owe Kiana a call. One young lady, I owe her a call, and we were supposed to talk today after she got out of work, and I just neglected to make that phone call, doing our qualifications, etc. But I will talk to her tomorrow.
All right, good. Tell her I said hi. I like how she's doing.
Yeah, she's.
Tell her I asked about it.
Good girl, and her mom is fantastic.
Yeah, the whole family is really sweet.
Yeah. And let's see, how do I get this off the screen? Okay. Chat. Okay. So, Pharmacist Ben, I just want to start off really quickly. I had an article about the integration of nutrients, minerals, and natural derivatives in modern pharmacopeia, a comprehensive analysis of FDA approvals of molecular origins. You know, the couple ideas that I wanted to discuss, which this whole thing was prompted by you mentioning the fact that a non-essential mineral, bismuth, was the root of Pepto-Bismol, or the active ingredient, the thing that really makes it run. And that got me to thinking.
It's actually a combination. I think it's bismuth subsalicylate is the technical term.
Okay.
Right? And so the salicylate has an anti-inflammatory effect, but the bismuth gives it that coating. You know, they say it has that pink coating kind of quality. That's the bismuth.
Okay. Well, just a couple of different ideas then sprung from that, which was, I'm really curious to know how many natural substances are actually converted in a way that can be sold as a pharmaceutical and patented and, made billions of dollars from. And the research kind of said that 70% of are derived from some. It's not like some guys sitting in a lab thinking of novel things. And
no, they're tweaks. They're tweaked versions. There's a drug called I forgot what it's called actually. It's an omega-3 fatty acid, right? Like EFAs, ultimate EFAs. Mm-hmm. They tweaked it a little bit, and they sell it for like $150 a month. And all it is omega-3 fatty acid, small dose of it, and they use it for the heart. Take your ultimate EFAs. Modern medicine depends on amino acids, especially in the world of nutrients, but also lipids and minerals. This is on the article you sent me, and vitamins, and also plant biomolecules. And so there are actually what they call small molecule drugs that are directly natural products or natural derivatives. Mm-hmm. And if you include the synthetic drugs that are inspired by natural drugs, you're talking about, the combination, 40%, 35-40% of drugs. Cancer drugs are especially natural and nature derived because there's lots of molecules in plants that kill cancer cells, and so they concentrate them. So it's almost 80% of cancer drugs are natural or derived. They call them nature derived. And then, as I say, amino acids are also a huge. Over half of these small molecule drugs are amino acids. Things like gabapentin are derived from amino acids.
And it seems like the amino acids acts as a structure for a lot of the drugs that they're creating.
Amino acids themselves can be very medicinal and therapeutic. Phenylalanine, for example, and tyrosine, which are similar, those act like speed or like caffeine.
Hmm.
Arginine is a very powerful vasodilator, opens up blood vessels. Glycine is very important for building connective tissue. It's anti-inflammatory properties. Glutamine is a fabulously valuable amino acid. In fact, there's some healthcare practitioners tell you not to use a lot of glutamine because it can be used, it has so much activity, and that's an amino acid. That's the most abundant free amino acid in the body or in the blood, and very important for muscle building and for the digestive tract. So amino acids in particular have therapeutic properties, either just straight amino acids or as scaffoldings for drugs.
Hmm. And then very interesting also, where they talked about, you always talk about the importance of B complex, and they're just talking about
Crazy important.
massive doses of niacin then being a drug.
A drug, yeah. I don't know why. I don't think it's legally a drug. I think has a drug-like effect. I don't think it's legally a drug.
Uh-huh.
Vitamins typically aren't going to be drugs. And niacin is...
They call niaspan or slow niacin.
Okay, now what's a little different. There are companies, drug companies, that will market a supplement, but they'll register it like a drug. Like niaspan is one of those. You're right. Mm-hmm. And that is still niacin. And there's no reason to get it like a drug, but they'll market it. The doctors will write a prescription for it. Your insurance company will pay for it. So it seems more medicinal than just going to the health food store and getting niacin. But it's basically the same stuff.
Interesting. So
yeah, it's very hard for a medical professional today in the year 2026 to deny the power of nutrition. They may say, oh, well, there's no studies and this and that and the other, but the number of people now in 2026 compared to even 30 years ago, 25 yeyears ago, that are getting benefits from nutritional supplementation make the idea of the power of nutrition incontrovertible. It's hard, it's impossible to deny it. And even medical professionals have to admit there's a power to nutritional supplementation, or nutrients, if you will. Certainly they're not as potent as drugs. They don't have the same potency as drugs, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. You don't really want the body doesn't like potency. The body wants to have things kind of even Steven at a low level. Like before I went on the call today, I was doing a podcast. We talked about high intensity interval training. Have you ever heard of this?
Okay.
Yeah, the body, when you have intensity in the body, it wants quick intensity and then off. And that's why high intensity interval training is so good. In terms of drugs or medicines, you don't want super potent stuff. The body wants kind of like even keel. It doesn't like spikes. And that's one of the things that happens when you take a drug or you take a supplement, you get spikes. And that's why I love this Beyond Tangy Tangerine so much. It eliminates the spikes. You get this nice steady state, almost like an IV drip. By drinking it, that's why I always tell people sip on your Beyond Tangy Tangerine. You don't want to spike, especially in water-soluble nutrients. Whoever put that directions on Beyond Tangy Tangerine, 2 scoops, that's crazy to me. 2 scoops in a glass of water. First of all, you can't handle that much. A lot of people can't handle that much. But second of all, what'll happen is if you do all your nutrients all at once, you'll get a spike, and then you'll excrete it.
Well, I think the old one, I think the original Blue Cap had 2 scoops. This is 1 scoop.
Okay, that's a little better, but even still 1 scoop.
A little better.
I do like I do like maybe a tablespoon in 16 ounces of water.
Wow.
Yeah, sometimes even less. I always tell people go to taste. How many people have you talked to that said they don't like the taste of Beyond Tangy Tangerine?
Yeah, well, yeah.
That's because you're using too much. You want to find just the right amount where you like the taste of it. The reason they don't like the taste is because it's intense if you do that much of it. And they have to put it because vitamins don't taste so good. Vitamins taste pretty bad, actually. So they have to put stuff in there to make it palatable because you're drinking it. And if you try to do too much of it, it's just too intense. And I talk to a lot of people who say they don't like the taste. And that's not because they don't like the taste, it's because it's too much. They don't like the intensity of the taste.
We were at before we move on, by the way, did you know that another amino acid derived drug was the famous remdesivir?
Remdesivir is that an amino? I know that's
the scaffolding aspect.
The scaffolding's amino. No, I didn't know that. I don't think remdesivir, the molecule, is an amino, but they made, you know why the scaffolding is an amino?
Why?
So it gets into the system.
Mhm.
It gets into the cell. It tricks the cell. That's a classic technique for getting things into cells, is by disguising them with a nutrient. So it's kind of like a little absorption trick that they do. That's what you mean. I think that's what you mean by scaffolding.
Yeah, that is exactly what I mean. Well, you know, Pharmacist Ben, I thought you'd find that interesting. It seems like I'm more interested in it than you because you probably already know all this stuff.
About drugs. Pharmacists study nutrition. We study nutrition in pharmacy school. So I've studied nutrients, but we don't study nutrients like a nutritionist or a dietitian. We study it like a pharmacist, which means we study the medicinal and the therapeutic and the healing value of nutrients. We study the drug-like nature of nutrition. That's when I started to smell a rat in pharmacy school. I was like, wait a minute, you mean amino acids work like drugs, and vitamins and minerals and EFAs, they have medicinal effects? Why are we not using them? It just never made sense to me. And so, when I graduated pharmacy school, I went full bore into using nutrition. I've told the story many times. I went full bore into recommending nutrition to patients in the pharmacy. And that didn't go over so well as as I've told the story.
Well, you weren't Kmart material, my friend.
I'm just not cut out to be Kmart material.
So,
and where is Kmart today, by the way? Down the freaking toilet.
Gone.
And they're gone.
Gone.
So much for you, Mr. Ozier. That was Mr. Ozier by DM. So much for that, Mr. Ozier.
How old was Mr. Ozier back then?
He was probably his 50s, I guess, or late 40s maybe. He was a nice guy, but he's the guy who fired me. And you know what? When I was working at Kmart, they had this thing, we're America's favorite store, blah, blah, blah. But they treated people like such garbage, like so crappy at Kmart. I knew they were going under because the customers would get treated crappy. The Kmart treated the employees crappy, and then the employees would treat the customers crappy. So I knew they were going under.
Could always get a bargain at Kmart though. So.
Yeah, but Walmart came along and that was it.
Knocked them out the box.
Yeah,
we have a question here from Houdini. Can B12 cause toxicity if consumed too much?
You'd have to take a lot of it, a lot. If you inject a lot of it, there's some skin rashes you can get. Not really. If you take it orally, there's a safety mechanism. You have to have a certain protein in your stomach, a peptide in your stomach to absorb B12. And that's a safety mechanism because B12 is the most powerful vitamin. Interestingly, B12 is the only purple vitamin. It's a very beautiful vitamin. I used to buy B12 in bags, and I would make a nutritional drink with it because it does give you some quick energy. It's purple. And interestingly, purple vibrates at the highest frequency of all the colors, right? Roy G. Biv, you know what I'm talking about? Red, orange, yellow. So violet vibrates at the highest frequency, purple. Violet's the highest frequency. So B12 is the only purple vitamin, vibrates at a very high frequency, and is active in tiny, very small amounts of micrograms. And because it's so powerful, the body has a mechanism for making sure you don't overdose. And that's this peptide that's made in the stomach. They call it intrinsic factor. You may have heard of it, IF, or intrinsic factor. And intrinsic factor is required for the absorption of B12. And so if you have too much B12, you're just not going to absorb it. So it's very difficult to overdose on oral B12. You can if you inject it. You bypass the absorption issue and the protective mechanism. And yeah, you can take too much theoretically, but you're not going to kill yourself. There's no fatalities associated with it. There is some skin conditions that it's thought may be associated with super high concentrations, acne, pimples and such, that may be associated with super high doses of injectable, but there's not a lot of people that suffer from that. It's rare. So it's difficult to have a full-blown toxicity from B12 to answer that question.
And then why do cancer drugs so harmful while medicinal mushrooms and other natural treatments boost the immune system?
Because cancer drugs don't boost the immune system. Cancer drugs kill things.
Right.
This is our model. This is our whole model, is to kill things. You know, not to support the health of the body, but to work on from the other direction. And in fairness, when you have an emergency, sometimes you need to do that. But the track record of chemotherapy is not good. You know, there are some cancers where chemotherapy is effective, but for the most part, it's not good. It's like under 10%, or it's really small. People that get benefits from it. And the misery that you get from chemotherapy is because the cytotoxic, the cell killing effect, is directed at the cells that divide the fastest. So the way cancer chemotherapy drugs work is they target fast moving cells. And that's why the digestive system and the skin are two primary sites of toxicities and adverse reactions from these chemotherapy drugs, is because you're killing your intestinal cells like you're killing the cancer cells. Now, maybe you need to kill the cancer cells, but really, cancer doesn't just live on its own. It lives in an environment, a context, a frame, a nest. It's embedded in the body. And in fact, it's the connective tissue that is the most likely suspect when it comes to creating a pro-cancer environment, or an environment that's conducive to cancer. So really what you want to do is you want to take care of the environment. And this, I was talking on my program, the program I did before this, I was talking about this very important point that you and I don't really touch on a lot, and longevity people don't touch on a lot either. We're always focusing on people who are sick, right? People call, I got my eye problem, I got my heart problem, high blood pressure, this, that, and the other. What about people who are healthy? If you're healthy, you want to stay healthy. And that's, you need longevity, and you need nutritional supplementation, and you need to be on Tangy Tangerine too, right? We're always focusing on sick people. You want to get nutrition in your system before you're sick, before you have cancer, before you have cataracts, before you have an autoimmune disease. Yeah, we can do things for you afterwards, but take care of yourself now. You know, I'm 66, man. I'm going to be 70 in 4 years. Let me tell you something. I'm taking it very seriously. Even then, you don't know. You know, there's no guarantee. There's no guarantees anywhere. But I'm taking it very seriously at the age of 66. Luckily, I've been taking it seriously my whole adult life, pretty much. But you know, when you're healthy, AJ, God bless you. You're a healthy guy. Now's the time to do it.
Pharmacist Ben, I was given some news today.
Yeah.
That my grandmother bought me a plot next to her in North Carolina.
How'd that make you feel?
I was like, well, thanks, Uncle Keith, for letting me know. I mean, are you trying to tell me something? Like, why tell me today?
Hey, the sand is going down the hourglass, buddy.
Hey, by the way,
that's how it is, man. We only get a few bites at the apple. You know, I say it's like a football game, right? You get 4 quarters, 20 to 40 first quarter, or no, 0 to 20 first quarter, 20 to 40 second quarter, 40 to 60 third quarter, 60 to 80 fourth quarter. I'm beginning my fourth quarter here.
You got overtime, man.
Well, then you get overtime, but it's sudden death.
No.
It's overtime, yeah, but it's sudden death. So you want to get overtime, but after 80, well, that's just what it is, you know. And we're in denial of that. We go our life in denial of that, and it costs us, because all of a sudden I'm 66, and if I didn't take care of myself, I'd be on high blood pressure medicine. I'd be going to the doctor. I'd be getting colonoscopies and colon cancer and lung issues and eye issues and this, that, and the other, you know. And it still might happen, but at least, you know, you reduce the likelihood of it. You can reduce the likelihood dramatically. Mm-hmm. You know, we all still have to drink the water, which is poison. We all still got to breathe the air, which is poison. We still all got to eat the stuff that comes out of the soil, and even if it's organic, it's still going to have some kind of residue, and you know, it's still going to be sprayed with municipal water or water with municipal water, etc. So there's no getting around the fact that you're not going to get 120 years, which is what we should be getting. But you want to do it you want to go into it gracefully. Mm-hmm. And you know,
people should be so lucky to be as healthy and such a model like you are at 66.
No, I don't want to go there. Don't go there. I don't want to curse me on that. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, none of us do, but
No,
I think
you
you're
don't
doing
know what's
well,
gonna,
man. Listen, I think you're doing pretty well.
all right.
So Renee sent in a question. I got a gout flare up in my pinky toe for the first time that lasted a good week.
That's
I took
awful.
celery seed. Not sure
Yeah.
if it worked. Can you share what you know about it?
About gout, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what gout is called, and you tell me what you think it means. Okay? Gout is called the disease of kings. What do you think that means?
It means it's only for people who eat too much and
Exactly. People who feast.
who can gorge.
Yeah, gorge. Exactly. It's a gorging disease, and I'm exaggerating a little bit, but back in the day, gout would only occur to very wealthy people who could, who ate, lots of food and lots of indulgent food. They feasted. They call it the disease of kings. It's associated with fructose. It's associated with liver issues. It's associated with diabetes. And guess what else it's associated with? Digestive health. It's the triangle of disease in living color. It's the triangle of disease come to life, especially, and fructose can be especially problematic. So, when people take things like celery seed and cherry juice, and, you're working with remedies. I don't do remedies. Remedies are for people who don't understand mechanisms. You know what I mean? I talk about mechanisms, and this is worth a quick discussion here. I spend a lot of time, like sometimes we'll do a talk and I'll answer one question, 2 questions, right? Because I'm giving you mechanisms. You want to know the mechanisms. If you're an engineer, you want to know the mechanisms. If you have to repair an engine, you got to know the mechanism, how the mechanism works. And we want to start looking at the body like it's a system, like it's an engineering system, not like it's biological, like it's engineering. And that means you troubleshoot. And in order to do that, you got to understand the mechanism. So when people give me these remedies, that's like superstition to me. I want to hear, unless there's a mechanism. So with gout, it's called gouty arthritis is the technical term for it. You have uric acid crystals that deposit in various joints. You don't have to, most of the times your big toe, sometimes people can't even put the blanket on their foot because their big toe hurts so much.
Wow.
She has it in her pinky toe, but you can have it anywhere. You can have it in your fingers, you can have it in your wrists. It's a form of arthritis that's related to the deposition of crystals, uric acid crystals. These uric acid crystals form under conditions of metabolic syndrome, which of course is, an eating issue. It's all an eating issue. Metabolic syndrome itself is related to bile, the intestine, which is a digestive issue. So it's a triangle. People, don't overthink. Gout is not special. It's just another manifestation of the triangle of disease. The first 2 points, and we have to do something about that third point. I'm not sure how to integrate.
You want to chop it off?
I don't want to chop it off because it's really important for how it jumps off into everything else. But I don't know how to bring it up because you really only need the first 2. Because if you do the first 2, the third will take care of itself. Although there's a few things you could do. It's the first 2. And when you think about the first 2 points in the triangle of disease, what are they? It's the ingestion of large amounts of energy, and then it's the distribution of small amounts of energy. It's all about energy. Everything is energy, period. E equals MC squared, right? Energy, matter. It's all energy. Health is energy. When you have an abundance of energy that could be used, not just energy, but usable energy, it's like having cash in the bank, money in the bank. When we get older, we have energy, but we don't use it because the machinery that turns the energy into work for us to do breaks down. Why does it break down? Well, for a lot of reasons, but one of the most important reasons is too much energy. And that's why every study that's ever been done on longevity shows the less you eat, the longer you live.
So if you have too much potential energy, you can't make kinetic because the system breaks.
I have to think about that, but that sounds about right. It's just, you might want to explain potential kinetic energy, folks. Potential energy is the possibility of energy, the storage of energy. Kinetic energy is the energy of movement, and it's more quantum than that. Kinetic energy refers to large, movements. It's more quantum energy, and I don't want to get too much into quantum chemistry, but what we're talking about here, and I will get into a little tiny bit of quantum chemistry because it's very fascinating. It's kind of important, but I don't want to go all wonky. You eat a food. eat a hamburger. It goes into your stomach. It gets broken down into its amino acids, into its peptides, into its vitamins, minerals, etc. The vast majority of that hamburger is going out the other end. It's getting excreted. A very small percent, I don't even know, 1%. But yeah.
A vast majority of that is excreted.
Excreted.
If your digestive system is working
If you're excreting, if you're excreting. If you're not excreting, it just sits there and rots.
And becomes a toxin.
It putrefies. Literally.
I just want to make sure that people are at that point.
One of the chemicals it makes is called putrescine. It literally putrefies. It rots in your gut. And there's a lot of, what's his name? John Wayne. Remember John Wayne?
Yeah,
he famously, when he died, he had like 20 pounds of impacted material in his intestine. So most of it anyway is excreted. The point I'm making is then everything else goes into the bloodstream. This is what's supposed to happen. There's all kinds of things that get in the way, but supposed to happen. Stuff gets into the bloodstream, and that stuff that gets into the bloodstream is made up of things like vitamins and minerals and aminos, and fats go through a little different route, but eventually those go into the bloodstream. Phytonutrients. But one of the components that gets into the bloodstream is glucose. Glucose is sugar. The body cells run on sugar. They can run also on ketones, but mostly they're trained to run on sugar. So what happens is all that fat that you ate, all the protein that you ate, all the carbohydrates that you ate, eventually they'll get broken down. They'll get broken down into carbohydrates, into glucose. Okay. The glucose then that's the big chunks. That's the big energy, macro energy, food to glucose. But then you've got the micro energy, the second step. Because you got food to glucose, step one. Then the second step is glucose to energy. And the way it happens, I'm not going to tell you how it happens because it is so mind-blowing. It is so jaw-dropping. If you really understand it, you just want to get on your knees and praise Jesus.
Abbreviated version.
The abbreviated version, I'll try and, it's really fascinating. You have little pieces of electricity on glucose, on the glucose molecule. They call them electrons. Okay, you've heard the term electron, right? So to put it simply, an electron is a piece of electricity, but it's a quantum piece. It's when I say piece, you can't comprehend how small that piece is. If you take an electron compared to I'm just going to give you a little interesting visual. Okay, so the way an atom works is you have a center and then you got electrons around it. And by the way, this is just a model, and these days we don't even think it's accurate, but the model is you have a center and stuff around it, right? The nucleus, right, in the atom, and then you get the electrons around it, right? So to give you a size, supposedly, there's a lot of controversy around this, but anyway, that's the model. So, but to give you a perspective of how small an electron is, the atom is obviously small. It's the smallest thing there is, right? You could fit. There's more atoms of water, more atoms in a glass of water than there are, stars in the universe times 10 probably.
Wow,
that's how small an atom is. So an atom has a center called a nucleus, and then around the atom circulates electrons. Well, if you want to put it in perspective, the atom would be like a stadium, and the electrons would be like little people on the top of the stadium. Or I'm sorry, the atom would be like a quarter in the middle of the stadium, and the electrons would be like little people on the top of the stadium. And everything in between would be empty space. That's the atom. So the atom is so tiny that, the electron is so tiny you can't even comprehend it, but it's a little piece of electricity. That's a digression. I don't want to get confuse anybody with that. The point I'm making is, in this machinery, there's a machine in the cell, and in this machinery, the glucose comes in, the electrons get ripped off, and then they do this entire journey through a bunch of chemistry, and at the end comes out ATP. That little black box that I just talked about is so unbelievable. It's so incredibly complicated, nanostructured, nano-architected at the tiniest levels. You can't even comprehend how that happens. And it's very susceptible to damage. Very.
What
And
is susceptible to damage?
the machinery that's turning that electricity into chemical energy.
Okay.
And by the way, the machine's called the mitochondria. And within that mitochondria, you have all this convolution, all of this stuff going on. And it's very, very, very nano-architected. Do you know what I mean when I say that?
Yes.
Nano-architected.
And you can burn out the mitochondria is what you're kind of
You can burn them out.
You can poison the mitochondria.
I would say poison, burn them out.
What about
energy?
Starve the mitochondria?
It's not a... What's that?
What about starve the mitochondria?
Yes. I was about to say. There are nutrients that protect the mitochondria. And with too much energy on the one end and lack of nutrients on the other end, we have burnt out our mitochondria collectively to the point where that's why we're sick.
Okay,
Let me say this real quick. At the end of the day, the diseases that we suffer from are caused by cells that don't have enough energy. And the energy is made in the mitochondria. It's all about energy, is my point. And the energy comes from the mitochondria, from the, not the mitochondria, but from the process within the mitochondria. Sugar goes in, ATP comes out. And we are burning out our mitochondria with too much energy, too much glucose, from too much calories. Remember, it's the first step and then the second step. And on the other side of the equation, from lack of nutrients, such as vitamin C, vitamin A, minerals, coenzyme Q10, melatonin. These are all nutrients that protect the mitochondria. And by not having vitamin C, not having vitamin A, not having retinoids, not having coenzyme Q10, not having these nutrients, plus all of this energy, that's where disease comes from. When cells can't, remember, all disease is cell disease. All disease is cell disease. All cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. But at the point of disease, the cells can't do their work. That's what disease is. Now, happens to one cell, that's not a big deal because you got billions for every little system, or you got 100 trillion in your body. But over the course of time, as cells break down, we become less and less able to do our work. And this is what aging is. The cells become less and less functional. Now, in fairness, the cells are integrated with the connective tissue. So connective tissue deterioration can also play a role. And so you got to work on connective tissue. And it's this kind of combination of working on the nest, or the womb, if you will, that the cells are in, plus working on the cells that accounts for good health and enhanced longevity.
Before we go into some other questions, my question now is, have you ever thought about a particular ratio between calories and particular nutrients that we need? Or is that Tangy Tangerine taking care of it?
Food, whole food. It's God did that for us. Because the nutrients and calories in whole foods are perfectly balanced. Yeah,
even if there's no minerals in.
Yeah, let me give you an example. Sugar cane. Sugar cane has all the nutrients in it for you to utilize sugar. So vegetables, whole foods have the perfect balance of calories or sugar to nutrients. The problem is when we process those foods, because what processing does is it throws out the nutrients and keeps the calories. Because calories is really important. Calories hit our hot button in a way nutrients don't. Because for eons, for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, hundreds of thousands of years, there were no calories. Think about your ancestors, our ancestors in the Africa, even before 50,000 years ago, 60,000 years ago. Where did you get calories from? It was very hard to find calories. So we evolved to really, really love calories. So what food manufacturers have figured out starting in the late 1800s was if they can create foods that have super amounts of calories in them, you won't be able to stop eating them. And they don't need the nutrients. In fact, they can sell you the nutrients at the health food store. They can take them out and sell them to you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Though? How I explain that?
Whole foods is yes.
Whole foods have the perfect balance. Yes.
That makes sense. However, you mentioned sugarcane. I can recall taking a bite out of a sugar cane and almost fainting.
And where did you do this? Where did you take a bite out of a sugar cane?
Like some guy was selling sugar cane.
So that's a sugar cane. Okay, well, you don't know how much nutrients were in there, but sugar cane typically is high in chromium. It's high in iron. It's high in the B vitamins. It's high in fiber. It's high in magnesium. It's high in zinc. And these are all nutrients that the body uses to process sugar. So it's always struck me as very interesting. Sugar beet the same way. How foods contain the nutrients you need to process those foods, which kind of makes sense when you think about it, because nature would want its foods eaten so that seeds could be spread. That's part of the whole food cycle. And so to make a food attractive, it would have to somehow keep you healthy. And so it kind of makes sense that it would be perfectly balanced, but processing destroys that. And interestingly, this is really interesting, cereal, right? And bread, which is very high, obviously is made out of flour and grains. Flour and grains are very concentrated nutrients, or foods. They have lots of nutrients in them. Grains do in particular. All seeds do, and grains being seeds. So what we've done is with processed grains, so-called enriched flour and cereals, is we took out all the nutrients and left the carbs, the sugar, and then threw a smattering of nutrients back in for the RDA, or for the keep the government happy, or to keep people from getting horrible diseases. So the question is, why did you think they took the nutrients out of the grains in the first place? Why did they just leave them there instead of taking them out and then putting them back in?
Do you have an answer for that?
Yes, of course I have an answer. The answer is
greed.
Not quite, but yeah, everything boils down to that, but not directly. If they left the grains in the flour and the seeds, the grains, or if they left the nutrients, in the grains and the seeds of flour, the bugs would eat them. So when they take the nutrients out, the bugs don't want them anymore. They last longer. They did it so that for shelf life. But then they noticed people got diseases. So they put a little extra, they put a smattering in there so you wouldn't get a disease.
Mm-hmm. So you're saying if I grew my own grains.
If you grew your own grains and you sprouted them, because grains have things in them called enzyme inhibitors. All seeds do. They have, and that's a problem. The inhibitor, why do you think a seed would have an inhibitor?
Because it doesn't want to be eaten before it can proliferate.
It doesn't want, exactly. Okay. So it goes to sleep. The seed's asleep. Has incredible nutrients, but the chemistry in the seed is asleep, dormant. And the way nature keeps the seed asleep is with enzyme inhibitors. Problem is, when you eat the seeds, the grains, you get the enzyme inhibitors. They call them anti-nutrients. Things like phytic acid, which gets a bad rap. Those are anti-nutrients, and they keep the seed asleep. And so the real way to do grains correctly, and this turns a grain from a problematic food into an awesome food, the best food, probably among the best foods, is sprouting it. Because when you sprout it, you bring it to life. And all those nutrients that have been asleep are now alive, and they're readily absorbable, including the minerals. And that makes sprouts arguably the most perfect food. Algae are up there too. But sprouts are pretty, case can be made, they're the most perfect food you can eat.
Okay, well, last week you said
eggs. But the problem,
last week you said eggs were the most
Hang on. Hang on, let me clarify. Okay? Let me clarify. So a sprout is so good that you have to eat it really quick, because they get bacteria, they get mold, they get funguses really quick, because they're so loaded with nutrition. An egg is also very, very powerful, but let's see how that would compare the egg. The egg is more complex. Mm-hmm. The egg has more complexity to it. And the complexity to an egg, while it has the perfect balance of nutrients in it, makes it more difficult for the body to process than a sprout. A sprout is very easy for the body to process. It's like instant energy. It's like instant nutrition. An egg, your body has to not only process it, but you can also react to it. So it can activate the immune system because it's a living protein. But the sprout, you don't have those problems with. Although you do have to eat them fresh because everything likes sprouts.
Okay, bunch of questions, rapid fire.
Rapid fire. I don't know if I could do that.
I know you can't. So, this gentleman wrote in, and he actually called in because he really wants an answer. I was gonna answer his question because I saw it in the email prior, but Marilyn thankfully took it. He's having 3 to 4 bowel movements a day on occasion, well-formed stools, no blood, stomach aches sometimes after the bowel movements. Did we talk about this earlier?
No, we didn't. But the stomach aches is a sign. And I don't know what he means by stomach because a lot of times people mean the intestine when they say the stomach. So I'm going to assume it's not the stomach, it's the intestine.
One bowel movement earlier today. Now he's constipated. Eats as much as fiber as he can. Also has belching and gas. Takes the
probiotic. We got an issue. Houston, we got a problem.
Wait a second. One more thing. Only drink alkalized water.
Well, that's nice, but you got a bigger problem. You got bigger fish to fry.
Some sugar. Use stevia.
No, there's something that's making your intestine angry. Now, I don't know about the well-formed. 4 well-formed stools doesn't sound quite right to me. And the problem with stools, if we may be gross here, there's a really cool book called "What Your Poo Says About You," and it's a really cute little book, and it's interesting what you'll find out from your poo. And if we could get over our scatophobia, you know what I'm saying, fear of excrement. You know, we would do well to do that, you know, because there's a lot, your feces, your fecal material, your waste will tell you a lot about your body. And so, but we have this thing about it. I saw this this show on PBS a long time ago where they duplicated the digestive system with a big machine. And it was mechanical. And they duplicated the digestive system. It was as big as this entire room. The digestive system that's in your little, you'd be blown away to see how small your digestive system is. It's like this, from mouth to the other end. It's like this. It's very tiny, very, very tiny. It's convoluted and it's spread around, but it's really very small. So this whole system is a room full of equipment, heavy equipment, to do what's done in this little system. That alone tells you the amazing intelligence that's built into the wetware of the body. You know, you got hardware, firmware, you got wetware. The biological system is intelligence. It's computerized. It's an information processing system. Anyway, so it was as big as a room, and the guy, they showed you how it worked. The guy put some food on the top, and the thing went did all its whirring things. It took about like an hour, 2 hours, and they cut, and then this little tiny brown turd came out the other end. And the thing about the little brown turd that came out the other end is it didn't have the same connotation of disgustingness that it does when it comes out. Because it was mechanical. But it was the same thing. It was the same thing. So what we have to understand is the stuff that we hate so much and that, you know, we're repulsed by, and we're repulsed by for good reason, because from an evolutionary standpoint, you didn't want to be around that stuff, you know, when we're living in tribes. So there was this built-in disgust kind of thing that happens with it. But if we can get over that, it's a ton of information, and we can start to understand our bowel movements because it's telling you a lot. So for this, the reason I bring it up is because this gentleman says he has 4 of them a day. Right away, I don't know how much he's eating, but 4, I can't imagine.
3 to 4 a day, yeah.
That's a lot. Now he's doing fiber, and that will bulk up his stool, and that will also have an effect. But he also says that he has pain, or just say pain. Pain's not good. Any pain in the intestine is not good. Any pain. Now, if it's discomfort, that's still not good, but it's not as bad as pain. Pain is serious. So I would be looking for specific, and then he says he's constipated, and what else did he say? He said he's constipated sometimes. There's a few
constipated, yeah.
Probiotics this is more than probiotics. This means something's getting into your system that your system doesn't like. And what's probably happening is the colon's freezing. You know, you have fight and flight. You ever heard of fight or flight, right?
Yes.
Have you heard of fight, flight, or freeze? That's really the third element. There's fight, flight, and freeze. They don't tell you about freeze, but that's the third element. Freeze is the deer in the headlights thing.
Right.
And there's animals that will freeze. There's a freeze response to trauma, to fear. So you fight, you flight, or you freeze. And that's built in. Well, the intestine does the same thing. The intestine will seize up. It'll freeze when it's been attacked by the wrong thing. So you could be putting the wrong thing in the system and things could be clogged up. Dairy is notorious for doing this. So cheese, but it could be a lot of things. I don't want to blame any things, but it sounds like you got
should keep the food diary.
A whole bit, absolutely. And I know the food diary thing is a pain. I'm telling you, it's so important. I want to. I don't know if do I have time to read you this letter, this kind of text I got from this lady.
Jerry, make sure you reach back out to Marilyn. Marilyn's going to help you, and I'll forward your other email to her as well.
Okay, hang on. Hang on. So I was talking to this lady. She heard me on Coast to Coast, and her son had something they called autonomic dysfunction. Okay, now hopefully I can find her freaking text today. They call it autonomic dysfunction. His heart would race. He had heart palpitations. He was dizzy, brain fog. He was 18 or 19, I think. Oh, shoot, let me see how I can do this here. I want to read this to you. And they called me up, and guess what I told them? What's the first thing I said? Forget autonomic. They were going to take the Mayo Clinic because the doctors couldn't find anything. So they were going to take it to the Mayo Clinic. Let me see if I can find this note here. Amy. Ah, shucks. Let me see. You know what? If I can't find it, shucks, I can't find it.
Don't you worry. I got a question if you can't.
Oh, I can't find it. I wanted to. Anyway, he had this autonomic dysfunction. Poor kid. And so I said, do a food diary. She texted me like a week later. Oh, every time I have cereal, I have heartburn. And every time I have bread, I get dizzy. And every time I have, all the foods, eggs, and, all the foods you're not supposed to eat, burritos. And he has a food problem. And he's going to doctors, and they can't find anything. And they were going to go to Mayo Clinic. Like Mayo Clinic, more doc. What are they going to do? I love that. I hear that all the time. We went to Mayo Clinic. Really? What are those? Like, what are you going to get at Mayo Clinic? That's a better doctor? What do you think that's Mayo Clinic. He went to the Mayo Clinic,
Well, at the Mayo Clinic, you got to put your tomato and lettuce with it, too.
Right? Yeah, right. The Mayo Clinic's a meme. And memes do not belong in health. The Mayo Clinic, yeah.
Pharmacist Ben, Mary's asking, why would a postmenopausal woman get fibroids? She had terrible menopause and took HRT for 4 years. Could the HRT estrogen be the cause or more?
Absolutely. I'm not a fan of HRT, first of all. And I forgot if I talked about it. Did I talk about it with you or did I talk about it an hour ago? I talked about it with my last show. Did we talk about HRT here?
We did not talk about that here
Everything's
today.
Blending, it's all blending into one. Here.
That's right. I look just like Dave Michaels, too, right?
What? It was with Dave. You look exactly like Dave Michaels. I sometimes get you mixed up. How did you know? You're like twins.
It's my brother Dave.
Did you ever see that movie Twins with Arnold Schwarzenegger? And Dave?
Right.
Yes. All right. So anyway, there's so much to unpack with that gal. Look, menopause should be easy. If it's not easy, you're doing something wrong. Nutritional deficiencies definitely play a role. One of the biggest culprits in menopausal symptoms, and nobody talks about, is called histamine. And if you go on my Facebook page, my True Treatments, well, you go on these are professional Facebook page. If you email AJ, and if you sign up, no, I shouldn't say that. If you just email AJ, and I'll get you an article I wrote on histamine and menopause. When your estrogen drops, your histamine goes up. Histamine makes you flush. Histamine causes cells to divide rapidly. Things like endometriosis, fibroids, fibromyalgia, rosacea. All of these can be associated with histamine. Sensitive skin. These are all things women have. Hot flashes, anxiety, night sweats. These can all easily be histamine responses. And it's known that when your estrogen drops, your histamine goes up. So many of the signs of problems associated with menopause are hidden histamine reactions. Histamine levels high histamine levels are associated with leaky gut. There's your digestive connection. And what's really interesting is that there are foods that are good foods, avocados and tomatoes and citrus and shellfish and certain cruciferous vegetables that are good foods are high histamine foods. Sauerkraut, fermented foods that you always hear you're supposed to eat, high histamine foods. Three of the most histamine triggering foods, histamine reaction triggering foods, get this. wine and cheese and chocolate. What do menopausal women absolutely love?
Yes.
Any
Yeah.
menopausal women out there? We're a bunch of guys here. Menopausal women, send it to wine and cheese and chocolate. And whenever I tell people that, when I'm doing talks, they're like, and I say, and they say they have menopausal symptoms and hot flashes. I say wine, and cheese, and I say cut the wine, the cheese, and the chocolate. And they'll go, isn't there anything else I could do? You know, nobody wants to quit the wine and the cheese and the chocolate. And I can't say I blame anybody, but the point is that we don't see that the good things, not that wine and cheese and chocolate are necessarily good, but good things can trigger these histamine responses. And that could be why sometimes people say, oh, but I only eat the good foods and I don't eat the bad foods and I don't eat the oil. I'm gluten-free. But, you know, you're eating a lot of avocado, like that gal. Like, what's her name? Kenyatta? What's that gal's name? Kiana, right. Like Kiana, you know. Remember she said I discovered I eat a lot of avocados and I bloat every time I eat avocados.
Well, she's keeping a food diary. She mentioned oatmeal
Definitely.
as a problem.
Oatmeal? Oh, did she? That's new. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right.
That's the thing about vegetarians. That's the thing about, vegetarians are, I'm not saying Kiana. What did you say? Kiana. I'm not saying Kiana's like this. So if you're listening, Kiana, I'm not talking about you. But there are some vegetarians who are like, I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat animal foods. There's a holier than thou aspect of vegetarianism. And, I don't like eating Bambi either. But the fact is there's no allergenic meat. There's allergenic food, lots of allergenic veggies. And there's lots of veggies that will wreak havoc on your hormone system, your skin, your immune system. Not me. And I'm not a big meat eater, but I'm just saying we want to keep things in perspective here.
And just to end up, Pharmacist Ben, I do kind of have a hang up about meat, in the sense that I'm not a hunter, I'm not a farmer.
Yeah.
And if I had to do it on my own,
yeah,
I guess if I lived, a different time and place, of course, I'm sure I'd have the wherewithal to do it. But when I look at like the duck hanging from the restaurant,
it's pretty hideous. It's not attractive.
And it's just like,
I don't like eating meat. I gotta tell you, I eat it because I find it's very satisfying, feels solid. But no, I agree with you 100%.
Well, but Cheryl and Paul took us to dinner last night.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at Becca's steak, and I'm like, that looked good. Like, I mean,
it doesn't look good if you don't eat it for a while. It won't necessarily look good.
I haven't had it in a very long time. I'm sitting eating my salmon, but I'm looking at her steak. I'm like,
Yeah, steak is I went through a little phase where I ate a lot of steak, but it didn't feel right. Eating chicken now, it doesn't. I can't do the meat thing that much, but I do find it's very satisfying. I will say. So if I get over that, you ever see slaughterhouses with cows hanging their bodies hanging? That's awful, right?
I mean, it's just.
And cows are really smart animals, and I like cows, and they're beautiful animals. But I do eat meat, and I do eat all that stuff. I was not born on, but my dad worked on a chicken farm when I was a kid, and when I was like a toddler, a little kid, and we used to go. I remember chickens with their heads cut off, running around when I was a little kid. I mean, you laugh, but
you've seen that.
I've seen it. Yeah.
Yesterday, we did a seminar, and a woman came up and she was Hindu, I believe, and she had asked me about the products, and I said. She said, "Is she?" Because I told her she needed collagen. She was describing a problem that she had, and I said, "Well, I think that collagen would be a benefit to you." And she said, "Does it have cow?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, there's both."
I know it doesn't have cow,
okay, but it derived from
cow.
And I'm like, yeah, there's no porcine. And then she's a
vegetarian.
Cow. She said, she went like this. Cow is a mother.
It's true.
We
worship cows.
She said, if a cow walks, if I'm driving down the highway,
it's true,
and a cow walks past, the traffic stops.
Yeah.
They
worship cows.
Yeah.
Cows are magnificent animals. first of all, the kind of cows we have, they're genetically bred to be just, milk breeders or meat. But the cows that are just wild and, not necessarily wild, but just farmed, and you milk them outside. They're not factory farm kind of thing. They are really smart animals. They're beautiful animals. And bulls are powerful. The cows are powerful too. Have you seen a bull? Those are badass animals, man. Holy cow. They're like pure freaking muscle. Everything. They're just awe-inspiring, bulls are. And cows are pretty darn strong too, but there's something sweet about cows, and I have a thing for them. But I do eat them, I will say. Although I haven't had a steak for a long time.
All right. Well, that will just lose us all of our carnivore fans.
Look,
Becca's on a carnivore diet, by the way.
She is on a carnivore. Here's the thing about the carnivore diet or paleo diet. What they don't account for is how nasty our meat is today, and the animals. They make it sound like, our ancestors ate meat and blah blah blah. No, they hunted, and they ate wild animals. They didn't eat Costco or McDonald's.
I'm certain that most of the people who are doing the carnivore diet are getting their meat from like select places.
Maybe if it's select, antibiotic free, grass fed. Not necessarily though. A lot of carnivore people are just eating a lot of meat. Maybe the people we know are different, but a lot of carnivore people just eat meat. They don't realize that the meat that we're eating today is not, just the grains that are fed the meat throws everything off. Cows eat grass. And grass is very rich in nutrients, really rich in nutrients, super rich. Do you know the most nutritious, we were talking about sprouts earlier, wheat is grass. The most powerful food on the planet is grass and algae.
And what about this wheatgrass?
Wheatgrass is powerful stuff.
Is that wheat? Is it edible for we want to be gluten free?
No. Well, if you want to be gluten free, wheatgrass, there's no gluten in wheatgrass. It's the grass. It's not the seed. Gluten's in the seed, not the grass. So wheatgrass has to be ground up. They make wheatgrass juice. Nobody eats wheatgrass by itself. You choose, because the nutrients in grass are locked up. We don't have access to them. You can't go eat your lawn. But cows have access. Not even cows. Ruminants. You know what a ruminant
they
is?
Got the 4-chamber stomach.
And they got the bacteria. Mm-hmm. And so in order to process grass, you got to have some heavy-duty digestive machinery. And you've got to have creatures that can digest the grass in your digestive tract. And then all those nutrients are liberated and they go into the meat. And so animals that eat the grass are the best kind of animals, grass-fed they call them. Or if just in nature, animals that eat grass like gorillas and elephants and giraffes are huge because grass is so nutritive and it's so abundant. It's the most abundant growth on the planet is the grass. It's like the planet is a grass planet in a lot of ways, except for deserts and such. But a lot of the planet is covered by grass. And the ocean has ocean grass. You know what we call that?
Fucoid?
Algae. Algae and seaweed. Yes, that's right. Algae and seaweed is ocean grass. And just like grass is the most nutritive stuff on the planet, ocean grass is equally nutritive, but because it's in water and it's immersed in water and water kind of can interact with the molecules, it's incredibly absorbable and utilizable. So grass is great, but we can't really get the benefit from them. Algae and seaweed is perfect food. It's the perfect food. I know I said sprouts are perfect food and eggs are perfect food. They're all perfect in a certain kind of way.
Grass is a perfect food for animals.
And grass is a perfect food for animals, yes.
Okay, well, I'll just wait till next week and there'll be a new perfect food. Pharmacist Ben, you're over time. Do we have time for one more question?
We can do one more question, yes.
All right, fantastic.
At the end of the day, I can't stand my voice. I hate the way I sound because I talked all day, and it's like I don't like the sound of my voice at the end of the day. I want to just stop. But go ahead. I want to.
How do I shut down, Dion? How do I shut down and reverse inflammation in the ankle, foots, and hands? And also, how do I lower blood pressure and sugar?
Dude, that's like a whole college course right there.
You got 3 minutes.
You kidding me? Well, first of all, I want to see what kind of inflammation, but first thing that comes to mind is everything's settling. It's edema. So I don't know if that's the kind of inflammation you're talking about.
Ankles, foots, and hands.
Oh, it's hands too. Okay, gotcha. So then that's some kind of inflammation in the blood. All disease is cell disease. All cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. So the fact that it's systemic like that means it's not local. It's not like he's using his hands too much or he's using his feet too much. It's systemic. It's in the joints. If something's systemic, that means it has to be the blood because that's the only thing that travels around. So the connector is the blood. All disease is cell disease. All cell disease is preceded by dirty blood. Clean the blood, first of all. High blood pressure. Clean the blood. What was the other thing he said?
Sugar. Sugar meaning like blood
sugar dirties the blood. Sugar, clean the blood, dude. It's simple as that. So let me explain.
Right, but if the person's writing in, they don't understand.
Let me explain. I know.
Okay.
I'm just saying to point back to our number one, our only cause of degenerative disease is the blood. It's all about the blood. So this is a classic example of how it's all about the blood. First of all, high blood pressure. Okay, high blood pressure is an epidemic, and they call it essential high blood pressure is hypertension. They call it essential hypertension, and it's just so common. It's one of the most common biochemical dysfunctions there are is high blood pressure or hypertension. But most hypertension is said to be essential hypertension. What does that mean? Hypertension that's just part of you. There's no reason for it. There's no reason for it. Well, clearly that's dumb. Everything has a reason. But the word essential is because they say that's just who you are. It's essential. It's essential to you. It's your nature. No, that's not true. If you understand plumbing and circulation and hemo or fluid dynamics, the movement of fluids, you'll understand high blood pressure. You see, the body depends on the fluids to move. When we're healthy, our fluids are moving. That means the oxygen's getting delivered, the nutrients are getting delivered, the toxins are moving away, electricity is generated as the fluids are moving. You want a healthy fluid system, like you want, like in a city, you want a healthy river system. You want healthy fluids. Over time, as we've said zillions of times, the blood becomes sticky. How does the blood become sticky? How does it become sludgy? From a leaky gut. Toxins get in the blood. The blood becomes inflamed. It swells. It's immune activated. Swell is not the right word, but what happens when the blood's immune activated, it clots, it coagulates. They call it hypercoagulability. That's the term for it. I call sticky blood, dirty blood, technically hypercoagulable blood, because the blood is a very, very pristine system that exists within tight specifications, within a tight window. And as soon as stuff gets in there, it causes an emergency. The emergency response is to clot, to slow up. Why would an emergency response to toxicity in the blood result in a kind of sluggish slowing down, increased coagulability and viscosity? Logically.
Because there's a problem with it that the body doesn't want to go everywhere.
Bingo. It's logical. The body's mechanism for keeping everything from spreading is to slow it down so it doesn't get distributed everywhere. And also, there are mechanisms that filter the blood. Largely the connective tissue, because as the blood's moving, it's interacting with the connective tissue, which is like very fine fibers in places, and it acts like a sieve, like a net, like cheesecloth. And the toxins go into the connective tissue. This is where many diseases come from. You can see how this is all logical. This is all completely logical. And so when the blood becomes hypercoagulable and viscous and inflamed and dirty, if you will, sticky, it doesn't go to the spleen and the intestines and the lungs and the heart and the brain, and it doesn't circulate. Because now it's in an attempt to keep it from spreading its dirt around, it's not getting, your tissues aren't getting oxygenated. your tissues aren't getting nutriated. Your tissues aren't getting detoxified. The brain reads that. The brain is constantly monitoring the blood and constantly monitoring the organs and the glands, and it reads that there's deficiencies in the organs and glands. Largely oxygen deficiencies. That's what it's mostly reading for. Guess what the brain then does? Turns up the pressure like a garden hose so that you get more oxygen, more nutrients, the tissues get perfused. That's what hypertension is. Hypertension is an adaptive compensatory response. So the reason why nobody sees a cause for it is because they're looking at the fruit, not the root. That's what people are looking at, the pressure at the level of the circulatory system. Of the arteries. They're not looking at where the blood begins. And so they're looking at the rotten apple in the tree. And so they say, hey, there's nothing going on here. It looks good to me, because they're not looking at the soil, which is the dirty blood. And so what you want to do if you have high blood pressure, hypertension, is you want to clean the blood. Now, one of the most important causes of sticky blood is sugar. And diabetics are notorious for having high blood sugar. So it makes perfect sense that this guy's got high blood sugar and he has hypertension and he has deteriorating joints. These are all related to digestive issues, dirty blood, and sugar. Triangle of disease.
Two quick questions. Number one, if I were a diabetic and I fasted the water fast for a week, would I technically be a diabetic?
Depends on your blood sugar. I mean, you'd certainly lower your blood sugar. I don't know the answer to that. Depends on what your blood sugar was, but you would definitely lower your blood sugar.
So let's say I consume well, I mean, obviously there's going to be some carbs, things are going to turn into sugar, but so ultimately, if they fasted and hydrated very well, they would lower their blood sugar, but there's nothing to prevent them from.
Say that again.
Okay, I'm just thinking through something. Okay, the second question is,
I didn't really understand that.
Okay, well, what I was getting at was, if someone cleaned their blood by not introducing sugar as a toxin, diluted the blood with a lot of water or minerals or what have you,
would they be healthy?
And would they be better clean? Would they reset?
Yes, they would reset. You can reset insulin sensitivity. Absolutely. You can reset glucose. It's really about insulin sensitivity, this whole thing. Absolutely, you reset it. And you reset exactly by doing exactly what you just said. By reducing your intake of sugar and, among other things, drinking more water to dilute the blood. But there's a lot of other things you could do. But yes, those will both do it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then you talked about the bloods. One of the mechanisms for reducing toxicity in the blood is by leaving the dirt or what have you in the connective tissue.
Leaving the dirt in the connective tissue?
You kind of indicated.
I said the connective tissue is a filter.
Is a filter, and
then
what happens?
The connective tissue is subject to attack, immune attack, inflammatory attack. Absolutely, that's not supposed. If it happens a little bit, that's one thing, but over time, it's a major problem.
Okay,
it leads to deterioration of the connective tissue, cancer. It leads to cancer. That's one of the reasons why cells become cancerous. Autoimmune diseases, the connective tissue diseases, arthritis. It's just a mess.
Okay,
disaster.
But
yes,
it kind of sounded like that the connective tissue acts like nature's designed filter.
Yes. That's
okay.
How it rolls.
So if that's nature's designed filter, what did nature design to repair that system?
The connective tissue is constantly breaking down and being built up. It's constantly being remodeled, and from an evolutionary perspective, all that crap that's in the connective tissue didn't start getting in there until 500 years ago, mm-hmm. or maybe 10. If you really want to go way back, to say 10,000 years ago.
So
this is why, by the way, our Neanderthal ancestors were, until very recently, until the last 100 years or so, way bigger than us, stronger than us, more muscular than us, way better off, way healthier than us. Our Neanderthal ancestors.
More muscular than you?
More muscular, all of it. less diseases. It only started, our bodies started to fall apart 10,000 years ago, but at an accelerated pace, obviously, over the last couple hundred years. Although we are bigger and stronger now, I think we caught up to our Neanderthal ancestors because we do get a lot of protein, a lot more protein than they got. We have access to it. It's very hard to get protein. But generally speaking, our Neanderthal ancestors were bigger and stronger than us.
So you're saying there's no natural mechanism. Nature is not anticipating that
it didn't anticipate did not anticipate.
Not anticipating that we're taking MSM and collagen to do extra reparative work.
All of that. None of that. Nutritional supplementation is the best thing we know how to balance out all the lousy things we've been doing to our bodies over the last, like I said, 10,000 years starting, and then at an accelerated pace. There's really, ideally, we shouldn't be nutritionally supplemented. Ideally, we live in the Garden of Eden, and we have all the nutrients we need from the foods, and the soil's great, and the farming's great, and the animals are great, and all that stuff. We don't have that. Nutritional supplementation is our best defense against the kind of situation that we've created with our food supply. There's no real option to it from a physical perspective. I don't see any option. It's not perfect, though. As you alluded to a couple times already today, the balance of everything, it's not perfect. It's just the best we can do, and you've got to do it. And on top of that, the kind of recoveries that I've seen with my eyes, and you've seen it too, and everybody really in longevity has seen, when people get on a nutritional supplement program, is so affirming, it's so validating that you can't deny it. I mean, how many people had their arthritis just disappear when they got on the glucogel caps, or had energy, incredible amounts of energy from Beyond Tangy Tangerine, or got off all their drugs when they got on the Healthy Start Pack?
Yesterday, I gave a guy, I was giving out shots of
collagen,
strawberry kiwi mints.
Okay.
Strawberry minerals, strawberry kiwi minerals.
Yeah.
One guy, I gave out, a good number, but one guy in particular, it's like, wow, I felt that right away.
Yeah.
Like absolutely, and he wasn't joshing. Like, he was dead serious. Like,
I know. And there are all these like naysayers and negative people and haters and stuff. You guys don't know. If you're a hater out there and you're negative, and not on this call, obviously. When I go on George, you there? When I go on George Norrie, I made the mistake of checking out Reddit one time a few years ago after going on George Norrie. I don't do that. I did it one time. I don't do it anymore. There's all these haters out there. You haven't seen what I've seen. If you saw what I saw, you would not be a hater. You would be signing up.
We got this one guy. It comes on YouTube, and he said, "What is this? A commercial for Tangy Tangerine?"
Yeah.
Which leads me to a question Pharmacist Rod. Coach Rod asked, Pharmacist Ben, what's your one go-to product no matter what?
PTT.
I mean, come on, Rod. You know
Rod,
the answer to that question.
He just wanted me to say that. He just wanted me to say that, Rod.
Rod,
you're a sneaky guy, Rod. He's a sneaky guy.
Layup.
You just want. I gave you a layup. I gave you a layup. That's right.
Okay, Pharmacist Ben, I'm gonna let you go because you're being so generous tonight, and I can only imagine that you.
I'm not talking to anybody. That's it. I'm done talking tonight.
Okay, I appreciate you, and Keely, I appreciate you being on in the background with us. I don't know if you had something in particular you wanted to say, but Pharmacist Ben, I'm hoping, really, really hoping that this has got some sort of quality to it.
What is it? What do you mean this? Oh.
Let them see the shine up top. Don't even care if it's gonna stop. Cause I'm focused on the part they never see. I'm going root, not just the fruit, that's the real me. Water in the ground where my spirit grows. Building something solid from my head to toes. It's all about the root, not the fruit.
All right. Now we're talking. I can live with that. I can live with her. That was smooth.
Yeah.
I used to have a friend. He's got smooth.
That's right.
I was smooth.
Well, you're a
right.
man, and we appreciate you tons. And
All
I will
right.
see you Friday.
Friday. Can't wait.
Thank you,
All right.
Pharmacist Ben.
Bye.
Have a good
Take
night.
care. Good night to you.